Hey scrapbook friends, it's Nicole, and I'm here by request to do a video demonstrating the Fringe Border Punch. This was a free promotional punch from the end of May. You had to place a $125 order on the website to get this punch for free. It's never been for sale, and it's not one that you can buy now, although there may be some out there, and who knows, I may be giving some away at some point. But it's a little bit fiddly. And because there are just a couple tips about it, and I know that there are people that have this and don't know how to use it, I figure I will do a quick demo. So like all of our punches, it comes flat, comes in a box. And when you're ready to use it, you just want to slide this little lever on the back. And that releases this little hook in here. If you slide that over, you can see it closes it in. And that allows you to then have the lever action to make the punch work. The way you know it's a border punch is because of the wings on either side. And then also on the front, there are two black markings that show you how to position your paper so that your punch will line up properly with this metal, the actual piece of the punch that does the cutting. So here's a sample that I punched just to see what it is going to look like. You can see it's just this cute little fringe and like a little eyelash almost. And because of its delicate nature, I think that's what makes this punch a little bit fiddly. So Creative Memories has told us that this punch is only to be used with designer weight paper. So as far as Creative Memories goes, that means anything in one of our designer paper packs or that new lightweight shimmer cardstock, but you don't want to use this with regular weight cardstock. What can happen is these little teeny pieces of metal, when you're actively punching, they warm up just a little bit. The friction causes warmth and they can bend and they can just get off by a hair. But these are such precision lines that if one of those is bent even by a smidge, it's not going to punch anymore. So you don't want to do that. You want to be very gentle with this one. But it does work really well on the designer weight paper. So I have this new Botanical Burst paper that I showed you from the new June product release. And I pulled this out and I made a couple of samples using this paper. So the first one is just a border, and I love this. It was fussy, it was a little fiddly, but look how fun. Wouldn't this be fun? Like, it looks like a piñata to me. So I did this, and then I did punching around paper for a little fringe border, which I thought was very fun. But then at the end, after you've punched out your shape, you're left with these little scraps that are the reverse of the punch. And I just couldn't bear to throw all of these away. They look like little combs. You could do something like a little hair comb. You could use it as its own border. But I also just layered a whole bunch of them because I ended up with a whole bunch when I was making this other border right here. So I'm going to kind of show you the steps that I took to make this. I'm not going to go through and do the whole thing because that would make this a really long video. But I'm going to use this striped paper from the Botanical Burst. I love this yellow. So what I want to do is I want to line up with this black line, and that way I make sure that my first punch is the paper is going to all be on the punch. If you're off by a little bit, you'll have like a blank spot, and that's not the end of the world. And maybe I'll show you afterwards what to do if that happens to you. But we're going to line it up with this little black line, and then you really, really want to be careful to press it up against this back. Let's see if we can come down a little closer. All right. So I'm lining up with that black line on the front, and I'm pushing it in, and I can already feel the little teeth are kind of grabbing it in here. So just carefully put it in there, line it up with the black line, hold it against the fence in the back, and press down. And then what you want to do is you want to pull it out and slide it over. And you'll notice that right here on this little leftover strip, there's a notch. And so you're going to want to line that notch up with the little notch on the wing. And that's how you know that your punch is going to be aligned correctly. So usually when we punch like this, you can just kind of slide your paper over. But if you see, and I tried to do that, I don't know if you can hear, they're like getting caught on these other little teeth in there. And so the best way to keep it from getting caught in there is to pull it out. Make sure you're holding it back there. I punched one earlier that I didn't make sure that I was toward the back, and so you can see that that isn't straight when I went to trim it off. So make sure that you're pressing it against this fence. You line up the little triangle, cover up all the blue. It sounds like a lot of steps, but it's not really once you get going. And then punch it out. So really that's the biggest trick with this is to pull it out before you slide it over. Then you're left with this little end strip. Oh, look, I don't know if you can see, I was crooked here at the end. I went up. See how my end strip isn't the same? It's because I didn't follow my own rule. I didn't press it up against the back fence. So that was on me. So now when I cut it, it's not going to be quite even. I would still use this. I would just cover up the little dud spot with a different border or an embellishment. I don't think that looks too bad. But if you're not careful, then they're all gonna kind of be wonky. And what you want is for them to be all the same so that when you put your project together later, they all line up nicely. So here's all these little combs that are your leftovers that I showed you. So let me just do another one. And this time I'm gonna mess it up on purpose. Instead of lining up with the line, I'm just gonna put it in here wherever, willy-nilly. And again, I'm having a little trouble getting the paper to go in. So I just have to kind of gently work it in there. And I'm on purpose not lining up with the start line. So I'm just gonna punch like this. Oh no, I didn't line up with the start line. And so I end up with this little space. So I'm gonna continue to punch across just like I would ordinarily. Making sure right here, trying to remember to practice what I preach, that my back piece, actually I think the problem with the last one was that it was the piece I couldn't hold back. So here as I go in, that's the problem. It's hard to get that last piece back there to make sure that it's straight. So I'm gonna just double check, make sure that's straight, and then, whoops, pull it out that way, and then I'm going to put it back in this way, and it works the same on both sides. So if you like to punch from left to right, I like to punch from right to left, but either one of them will work. It's the same technique with the little, matching the little triangles, covering up all the blue, making sure this is pushed against the back, and then you'll line up and get your little fringe piece. And then again, all these little combs, although this one, because I did them two halves, I didn't end up with the whole little comb section. So the other thing I want to show you then is how I punched around the square. And this technique works on any of our punches. So if you bought some of the frame punches, I've done videos on that, and they have on the side silver line. Of course, this has a bunch of little silver lines, but they have a designated line that shows you where the half is that you can go around a frame. This one doesn't have it, but it has that little triangle. And turns out if you use that little triangle to position where your paper is going to go, you can do a frame. So here's what I'm doing. I'm putting my paper in, I'm lining up the edge with the point of that little triangle. Oh, look, I didn't pull it out all the way like I told you. Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes it works fine. Other times it gets caught in there, and we'll see if I can make it all the way around the circle. Maybe I'll have a good real life experience to show you about what happens when it gets stuck in there, because I did have several that got stuck. Okay, so now I'm here, and on this side, it's not exactly on that little triangle, but it's really close to that triangle. So we're just gonna stop right there. I think there are things you could do with this here. Doesn't that kind of look like a piano keyboard? You could even cut these off and have piano keys and leave it in with this little thing, and maybe trim off those little triangles and cut that and make piano keys. But what we're going to do is we're going to round the corner and we're going to use that same little triangle over here on the side. And this is where it gets a little tricky because it's going to cut this piece off. And so I definitely want to pull that out. And you can see that it cross-cut a little bit. And that's okay because we're just going to trim that little guy off at the end. So here we go, around the square. Somebody on the Creative Memories Advisors page said she felt like it worked better for her if she put a stack of something here to be parallel with the bottom of the punch. She felt like it to lift this up. I guess she had a couple of these mats. Let's see, let's try it with a couple pieces of paper or a couple of packs of paper and see if that brings this up so that we're flat. We're kind of flush right here. And let's see, we'll line it up. Okay, I can't do it because I'm trying to be on video. But if you find that your paper is falling out, maybe try putting something in front of it. But really, truly, that's not working for me. So I just kind of lift it up, especially when I'm doing a whole big square like this. I just kind of lift up the front, partly so that I can lean in close enough to see what I'm doing. I lean it up anyway. And then that kind of keeps this from sagging down and putting any weight on the actual punch. So again, you see that I'm so in the habit of just scooting things over that I keep doing that. But really, you want to pull it out and then turn it. So now we're going to do that same thing here on the little triangle. I'm almost hoping that it will kind of jam up so I can show you what to do and how you can recover from that. Surely it's going to. This little piece is getting flimsy and not necessarily where it needs to be. Pull it out, put it back in. But I hope you can see just by watching me, it's just, you just have to be super careful with it. And it's just persnickety. Okay, look, so here we go. I'm stuck in here. I scooted sideways instead of pulling it out. Oh, so I've ripped my little guide edge and my triangles are gone. So I'm just going to rip it off the whole thing now. So I want you to look at the side of the punch right here. And basically the fringe makes these kind of peaks. So there's 4 mountain peaks. And over here on the side, there are 2 mountain peaks. But what you want to remember is that one of the mountain peaks is hidden underneath of this. So I don't want to line up this mountain peak with the edge right here, because then it won't cut that middle section that I want to have cut. You want to scoot it over so that one of these little sets of mountain peaks is underneath. So I'm pushing it up against here on the side, and I've lined up so that one of the mountain peaks is underneath, and that will align it just right, even though I lost my little triangle. And I don't know what I did. It was probably me pulling it sideways instead of pulling it straight out like I've been telling you to do. I just did it again. Okay, pull it out, put it back in. The first time through, you might want to practice on a piece of paper that is not your favorite. And, you know, just kind of get a feel for how this punch works, how fiddly it can be. One of the weird things about Creative Memories punches, all of them, is that every now and again they get jammed. And the best way to unjam them is to take the punch and drop it from about 6 or 8 inches onto the floor, onto your desk. And whatever that does, it like pops a spring or something in there and it will unjam it. I hope it wasn't bad for me to do it when it wasn't jammed. But that's really true. So if you ever have a punch that jams, drop it on a, you know, not on the tile, because you might break your tile, but on a carpeted surface on your desktop from about 6 to 8 inches. And sometimes that will just free up whatever's trapped in there and make it work. Okay, so here's our little frame around the edge of the whole paper. And see, where's the other samples I had for you? This one, what I did, let's see where my ones I cut out for you before were. All right, so that one I messed up on, but this one's okay. What I did for this one is I lined up the little cut edge, so this piece right here, with the edge of the gray on my trimmer. So just to kind of make it even, you can see as I go in there, I can see the gray, I can see the gray. Okay, right there I couldn't see the gray. So that is about 1/4 inch from the cut line. And then I took these pieces and I cut them all at 4 inches. Now I found that because I'm not completely exact, sometimes the 4-inch mark wanted me to cut right through one of the little strings. I don't know what to even call it. So I would just kind of wiggle it enough so that my cuts were not down through the middle of one of these strips, but that they were, okay, so like right here, you see on my trimmer line, this long piece is right on the cut line. I don't want to deal with that. I'm just going to scoot it over so that the cut is in between. And I'll do it with the yellow, even though I messed up that one section of the yellow. I'm not going to do all of them because you guys don't need to see all the steps, but hopefully this will give you a visual of how I created this little fringe border, which I think is really, really cute. Like I say, it would be cute for a piñata layout or just anything springy. I love these fun colors from the Botanical Burst. Okay, so what I found worked for me was to use the Creative Memories cutting mat, the 13 by 13 cutting mat. I do have this self-healing mat on my workspace, but it stays put. And I like this one because I can adjust the angle to fit what I'm doing. All right, it doesn't have to be right side up, but I'll make it right side up because that makes it a little bit nicer. All right, so what I did was I took my zero centering ruler, which I've then, of course, put away. Oh, this isn't even the zero centering. This is an old style ruler. It has regular numbers, but right now we have the zero centering. And I lined it up with the 4-inch and then, of course, the 8-inch up here. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just flip this around. We're going to do it this way. We're going to pretend that this is a whole new piece of paper. Actually, I think I'm going to do it on a whole new piece of paper so that I can use this on a layout someday. All right, now it's all backwards and upside down, and hopefully that won't be too confusing. But I'm going to put my ruler so that it lines up so that it's 4 inches from the side. And then I took a little repositionable adhesive. This is the bad piece. I'm not going to use it. And, oops, sorry, put the adhesive just on this top section right here. And about an inch up, actually maybe I'll even do a 1/2 inch. And then I lined it up with the 1/2 inch line right here. Oh, that's not the 1/2 inch. Because you want to be able to have a nice bottom. So I just lined it up with the edges. I'm sorry. So here I am at that 1/2 inch mark. And then, sorry, it's an inch mark right here. And at the inch. And it doesn't quite touch the ruler on this one because I did scoot it over to cut in between strips. But I'm still going to, I'm going to leave the gap on the ruler side because when I finish my layout, I'll probably put a little border. And so then this one I'll just put on the next 1/2 inch mark. I mean, you could play with whatever measurement looks good to you. I just like the 1/2 inch. And I just went all the way up. And because I have the lines, the measuring lines on this side and the measuring lines on my ruler. Oh, here's that crooked piece. Well, let's see. We can probably hide it under there. Because I have the measuring lines on the ruler and on the side, then I know that my piece is straight across the top because I'm lining it up on both sides. All right, and so then I just went all the way up. Lining it up all the way up my page so that I had a full layout. Then this one I didn't actually put a little extra at the bottom. I wish that I had. So this is my first sample. This is my second sample. Then what I did was, what I would do then at this point is take this and, you know, either using my trimmer or a pair of scissors, cut the excess off, and then I have that nice finished edge for my border. I did that with the little, this is the one that I did with all the little combs. And these I layered, same thing, about 1/2 inch apart. And when with this one, I cut this strip 2 1/4 inches, and it went off the edge because what I wanted to do, excuse me, was to stagger the little bristles. So rather than overlapping them exactly, I staggered them. So my edges, when I was done, were super crooked, and I went off the edge in both directions. And you can still kind of see that the edge isn't very straight, but I feel like I liked it better having the pieces staggered. All right, I hope that this has helped you a little bit to see how to use this fringe punch. I thought it was gonna be a quicker video than it was. Just remember the main things to remember about this punch is the weight of your paper. Do not use a heavyweight cardstock because that's going to mess up your punch in the long run and maybe in the short run. And when you're cutting, try to avoid that inclination to just slide it over to the next page, next section, pull it out and then put it back in. And that way you don't get caught and tangled up in these little pieces in here, which is, it's just so easy to get caught up in there and tangled. You know, see, look, all these little pieces are a little bit bendy and they just want to get caught in there. So if you do get caught and you can't, you know, worst comes to worst, just pull it out, rip it, and then if it's whatever's stuck in there, just punch this a few times and all the little scraps will come out, and then you'll be able to try again. So if you have any questions, please post in the comments. If you did not get the fringe punch and you would like the fringe punch, I'm not sure that I'm allowed to do giveaways on YouTube. I don't know what the rules are on YouTube, but go over to my Nicole's Scrapbooks Facebook page or use the contact me button at nicolescrapbooks.com, and I will take all the names that I get, let's see, I'll give you guys a week. So until the 18th, I guess, of June. From today until June 18th at midnight, anybody that comments on my Facebook page or sends me a quick little note saying fringe punch through the contact me on my Nicole Scrapbook webpage, I will do a drawing. I'll use the wheel of names and I will do a drawing and I'll give away 2 of these fringe punches. So if you already have a fringe punch, you can still comment, you can still win another one. But really it's designed for people who didn't have a chance to get one of these. All right. So remember Nicole's Scrapbooks at Facebook or www.nicolescrapbooks.com. And I will put those links in the item description for the fringe punch giveaway. All right. Thank you so much. I hope that you will have fun playing with the fringe punch and happy scrapbooking.